All right, guys. Exodus was what we just finished. Now we're in the book of Leviticus. Now, Leviticus literally means book concerning the Levites or relating to the Levites. Okay. And who is the Levite, right? Levites were the tribe, um, part of Israel that were sons of Aaron, right? Moses' brother, because God made them or assigned them to be priests for uh, for Israel, and at the, serve in the tabernacle and those kinds of things. Excuse me. And before I get started, School of Light. What are we? Who are we? We're a correspondence Bible study course through the mail, so that if you are interested in having a structured Bible study, we will mail it to you. You study it. There's questions. You answer those questions. There's a prepaid stamped envelope, prepaid, pre-addressed stamped envelope in the what we send you, and so you put the answers back in there. It comes to us. We grade it. We make record of it. When you finish the series, we send you a certificate of completion. And certificate of completions, if you're geared toward college, some of those higher correspondence courses actually will yield college credit. It's for ages 4 through adult, and our oldest student a year or two ago was 89 years old, or 82. I think she was 82 or 84, something like that. But anyway, it's for everybody. So you want to get studied, you want to get educated in the Bible with a sound doctrine and a structured system. Let me know. It's free. Work. The only thing that costs is your work. All right, the book of Leviticus. The Lord called to Moses and spoke to him from the tent of meeting. He said, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, when any of you brings an offering to the Lord, bring as your offering an animal from either the herd or the flock. If the offering is a burnt offering from the herd, he is to offer a male without defect. He must present it at the entrance to the tent of meeting so that it will be acceptable to the Lord. He is to lay his hand on the head of the burnt offering, and it will be accepted on his behalf to make atonement for him. He is to slaughter the young bull before the Lord, and then Aaron's sons, the priest, shall bring the blood and sprinkle it against the altar on all sides at the entrance to the tent of meeting. He is to skin the burnt offering and cut it into pieces. The sons of Aaron, the priest, are to put fire on the altar and arrange wood on the fire. Then Aaron's sons, the priest, shall arrange the pieces, including the head and the fat, on the burning wood that is on the altar. He is to wash the inner parts and the legs with water, and the priest is to burn all of it on the altar. It is a burnt offering, an offering made by fire, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. If the offering is a burnt offering from the flock, from either the sheep or the goats, he is to slaughter it at the north side of the altar before the Lord, and Aaron's sons, the priest, shall sprinkle its blood against the altar on all sides. He is to cut it into pieces, and the priest shall arrange them, including the head and fat, on the burning wood that is on the altar. He is to wash the inner parts and the legs with water, and the priest is to bring all of it and burn it on the altar. It is a burnt offering, an offering made by fire, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. If an offering to the Lord is a burnt offering of birds, he is to offer a dove or a young pigeon. The priest shall bring it to the altar, wring off its head, and burn it on the altar. Its blood shall be drained out on the side of the altar. He is to remove the crop with its contents and throw it to the east side of the altar where the ashes are. He shall tear it open by the wings, not severing it completely, and then the priest shall burn it on the wood that is on the fire on the altar. It is a burnt offering, an offering made by fire, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. Chapter 2. When someone brings a grain offering to the Lord, his offering is to be a fine flour. He is to put oil on it, put incense on it, and take it to Aaron's sons, the priests. The priest shall take a handful of the fine flour and oil, together with all the incense, and burn this as a memorial portion on the altar, an offering made by fire, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. The rest of the grain offering belongs to Aaron and his sons. It is most holy, part of the offering made to the Lord by fire. If you bring a grain offering baked in an oven, it is to consist of fine flour cakes made without yeast and mixed with oil, or wafers made without yeast and spread with oil. If your grain offering is prepared on a griddle, it is to be made out of fine flour mixed with oil and without yeast. Crumble it and pour oil on it. It is a grain offering. If your grain offering is cooked in a pan, it is to be made of fine flour and oil. Bring the grain offering made of these things to the Lord. Present it to the priest, who shall take it to the altar. He shall take out the memorial portion from the grain offering and burn it on the altar as an offering made by fire, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. The rest of the grain offering belongs to Aaron and his sons. It is a most holy part of the offering made to the Lord by fire. Every grain offering you bring to the Lord must be made without yeast, for you are not to burn any yeast or honey in an offering made to the Lord by fire. You may bring them to the Lord as an offering of the firstfruits, but they are not to be offered on the altar as a pleasing aroma. Season all of your grain offerings with salt. Do not leave the salt of the covenant of your God out of your grain offering. Add salt to all of your offerings. Salt, yeast, I know those are just common things, but Jesus uses yeast as a word for influence, and salt. We're the salt of the earth. We preserve. So, let's see. Don't forget the salt, he says. Don't forget the salt. And I kind of lost my spot here. Without yeast, we're not to burn it. Okay. Season all your grain offering with salt. Do not leave the salt of the offering of your God out of your grain offering. Add salt to all of your offerings. If you bring a grain offering of first fruits to the Lord, offer crushed heads of new grain roasted in fire. Put oil and incense on it. It is a grain offering. The priest shall burn the memorial portion of the crushed grain and the oil together with all the incense as an offering made to the Lord by fire. Chapter 3. If someone's offering is a fellowship offering, and he offers an animal from the herd, whether male or female, he is to present it before the Lord, an animal without defect. He is to lay his hand on the head of his offering and slaughter it at the entrance to the tent of meeting. Then Aaron's sons, the priest, shall sprinkle the blood against the altar on all sides. From the fellowship offering, he is to bring a sacrifice made to the Lord by fire. All the fat that covers the inner parts or is connected to them, both kidneys with the fat on them near the loins, and the covering of the liver, which will remove with the kidneys. Then Aaron's sons are to burn it on the altar on top of the burnt offering. This is on the burning wood, as an offering made by fire, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. If he offers an animal from the flock as a fellowship offering to the Lord, he is to offer a male or female without defect. If he offers a lamb, he is to present it before the Lord. He is to lay his hand on the head of his offering and slaughter it in the front of the tent of meeting. Then Aaron's son shall sprinkle its blood against the altar on all sides. From the fellowship offering, he is to bring a sacrifice made to the Lord by fire. Its fat, the entire fat tail cut off close to the backbone, all the fat that covers the inner parts or is connected to them, both kidneys with the fat on them, near the loins, and the covering of the liver, which he will remove with the kidneys. The priest shall burn them on the altar as food, an offering made to the Lord by fire. So some of it was burnt for food, and some of it was, the majority, it seems, was burned as an offering to God. If his offering is a goat, he is to present it before the Lord. He is to lay his hand on its head and slaughter it in front of the tent of meeting. Then Aaron's son shall sprinkle its blood against the altar on all sides. From what he offers, he is to make this offering to the Lord by fire. All the fat that covers the inner parts or is connected to them, both kidneys with the fat on them near the loins, and the covering of the liver, which he will remove with the kidneys. The priest shall burn them on the altar as food, an offering made by fire, a pleasing aroma. All the fat is the Lord's. This is a lasting ordinance For generations to come, wherever you live, you must not eat any of the fat of the or any blood. Chapter 4, the sin offering. The Lord said to Moses, say to the Israelites, when anyone sins unintentionally and does what is forbidden in any of the Lord's commands, if the anointed priest sins, bringing guilt on the people, he must bring to the Lord a young bull without defect, a sin offering for the sin he has committed. He is to present the bull at the entrance to the tent of meeting before the Lord. He is to lay his hand on its head and slaughter it before the Lord. Then the anointed priest shall take some of the bull's blood and carry it into the tent of meeting. He is to dip his finger into the blood and sprinkle some of it 7 times before the Lord in front of the curtain of the sanctuary. The priest shall then put some of the blood on the horns of the altar of fragrant incense that is before the Lord in the tent of the meeting. The rest of the bull's blood he shall pour out at the base of the altar of burnt offering at the entrance to the tent of meeting. He shall remove all the fat from the bull of the sin offering, the fat that covers the inner parts or is connected to them, both kidneys with the fat on them near the loins, and the covering of the liver, he will remove with the kidneys, just as the fat is removed from the ox sacrifice as a fellowship offering. The priest shall burn them on the altar of the burnt offering, but the hide of the bull and all its flesh, as well as the head and legs, the inner parts and the offal, that is, all the rest of the bull, he must take outside the camp to a place ceremonially clean where the ashes are thrown, and burn it in a wood fire on the heap of ash. If the whole Israelite community sins unintentionally and does what is forbidden in any of the Lord's commands, even though the community is unaware of the matter, they are guilty. When they become aware of the sin they committed, the assembly must bring a young bull as a sin offering and present it before the tent of meeting. The elders of the community are to lay their hands on the bull's head before the Lord, and the bull shall be slaughtered before the Lord. Then the anointed priest is to take some of the bull's blood into the tent of meeting. He shall dip his finger into the blood and sprinkle it before the Lord 7 times in front of the curtain. He is to put some of the blood on the horns of the altar that is before the Lord in the tent of meeting. The rest of the blood he shall pour out at the base of the altar of burnt offering at the entrance to the tent of meeting. He shall remove all the fat from it and burn it on the altar, and do with this bull just as he did with the bull for the sin offering. In this way the priest will make atonement for them, and they will be forgiven. Then he shall take the bull outside the camp and burn it as he burned the first bull. This is a sin offering for the community. When the leader sins unintentionally and does what is forbidden in any of the commands of the Lord his God, he is guilty. When he is made aware of the sin he committed, he must bring as his offering a male goat without defect. He is to lay a hand on the goat's head and slaughter it at the place where the burnt offering is slaughtered before the Lord. It is a sin offering. Then the priest shall take some of the blood of the sin offering with his finger and put it on the horns of the altar, a burnt offering, and pour out the rest of the blood at the base of the altar. He shall burn all the fat on the altar as he burned the fat of the fellowship offering. This way, the priest will make atonement for the man's sin, and he will be forgiven. If a member of the community sins unintentionally and does what is forbidden in any of the Lord's commands, is guilty. When he is made aware of his sin he committed, he must bring as his offering for the sin he committed a female goat without defect. He is to lay his hand on the head of the sin offering and slaughter it at the place of the burnt offering. Then the priest is to take some of the blood with his finger and put it on the horns of the altar of the burnt offering, and pour out the rest of the blood at the base of the altar. He shall remove all the fat just as he removed from the fellowship offering. The priest shall burn it on the altar as an aroma pleasing to the Lord. In this way the priest will make atonement for him, and he will be forgiven. If he brings a lamb as his sin offering, he is to bring a female without defect. He is to lay his hand on its head and slaughter it for a sin offering at the place where the burnt offering is slaughtered. Then the priest shall take some of the blood of the sin offering with his finger and put it on the horns of the altar of the burnt offering, and pour out the rest of the blood at the base of the altar. He shall remove all the fat, just as the fat is removed from the lamb of the fellowship offering. The priest shall burn it on the altar on top of the offering made to the Lord by fire. In this way, the priest will make atonement for him for the sin he has committed, and he will be forgiven. So right now, I think really all this right here is going to say that sin is so serious with God, and I think he's wanting to show the people because in this case, they're not bringing it to the priest, and the priest does the slaughtering. In a few of these cases, they put their hand on this goat, right? You heard of scapegoat? Sometimes, well, we'll get into a scapegoat later on, but they put their hands on this goat, and it's like say I had this sin, I had done these things, hurt people, and so I bring this offering, and I put my hand on it, and then I kill it, and then you see it bleed. And I think what the main thing God's trying to show is that the consequences of sin is death. The seriousness of sin is so much that someone has to lose its life. Someone has to pay for that sin. And I think, or I feel, all that was done just to show us that when Jesus came, that he is that one that pays for the sin. Someone has to pay for the sin. Somebody's got to die for the sin. Forget the exact verse, but there's, sin is death. Sin brings death. And it's so serious with God that an animal had to die back then. But that's not the big picture. The big picture was showing that it's so serious that there's no amount of animals that God himself would have to come or send himself down as his son, his only begotten son, that he would come down here. And in a way, imagine putting your hand on Jesus' head like you would the goats, and you transfer your sin to him, and then you slaughter him. That's how serious sin is. Or you transfer the sins to him, and then they crucify him. Guiltless, perfect, no sin, no envy, no jealousy, no ill intent toward anybody. He committed no crime. However, he's the sacrifice. He's Jesus. God is he came down to pay what you couldn't, or you could pay, but it's an eternity of suffering. It's eternal separation. That's the cost. But God loves us so much that eternal separation from us is so against his original plan that he comes down and he takes the punishment that was due us and lays it upon himself, so that whoever calls upon his name and says, God, I transfer my sins to you, and I want to be close to you and not be separated eternally. God wishes that none would perish, but that all would have eternal life. So if you're out there today and you're, don't look at me like, hey, this guy's reading the Bible, he's probably a great guy. I'm an okay guy, God is, only thing good in me is God. And the point I'm trying to make is that I'm probably a bigger sinner than you, or I've been a bigger sinner than you. I've struggled for years and years, and I guess, what am I trying to say here? If you sin and you have this thing in your life or your heart where you know that you're not in the right spot, don't let the guilt of making those mistakes, making those decisions, of carrying those attitudes because you liked them. Maybe like, hey, I like the way I talk to the ladies because I'm very good and I can have I don't know. whatever this thing is that you might grab, you know, it could be drug, it could be your job. You know what? Take care of my kids. You can have my kids, and I'm going to go seek my fortune. Um, Whatever it is that you don't feel ashamed, just come. You know, like the old song says, "Come as you are." You know, when I came to Christ one time, I was in a prison or a jail cell, and you know, just to give you an example, I was in a jail cell. I had got in a fight, with somebody, I beat him up, broke their jaw. I was facing um, time in prison. That's how I came to God after, and when I was about 18, after rebelling for a couple years. How are you going to come to God? How are you going to come to God? That's your decision, guys. I already told you what God feels like. He wishes that none of you would perish. He's so concerned about the every details. He's more concerned about your life, and he's got a better plan for your life than you do. You know, follow that the cloud, like the chapter before that, or the earlier chapters with the tabernacle. You know, they wouldn't leave unless they saw the cloud move, and that's the way. That's what I pray for you guys, that God gives you the cloud, you know, the Holy Spirit to give you that guidance. And definitely don't let shame hold you from serving God. Don't say, oh, you know, once I start waking up every morning at 6, 5 or whatever, and doing this or that. No, you just come the way you are right now. I mean, if you're feeling great, you feel like you don't need God. Trust me, you do. If you're feeling sad, and you might even then realize, you know what, I think I need God. You do. Everybody does. But everybody's not going to put down their wants, push down their uh, visions or their plans for themselves or whatever. Not many people want to do that and put that to the side and say, God, what is it that you want? I want you to put dinner on my plate. I can make a hot dog, killer hot dog with all this stuff, but I'm going to trust you this time to create something for me. So I hope that's you. If it is, God bless. And if you need to talk, contact us at the School of Light. My phone number, I probably won't give it out right now, but if you contacted us on the School of Light and you want to talk on the phone, let me know and I'll give you my phone number there. Bueno, guys, it is 6:43 in the morning. It's almost sunrising here soon. So God bless you guys. School of Light Facebook page or schooloflight.org. God bless. Bye.